Tech Tuesday, and that's why we're getting up close and personal, who personally we feel is an evangelist of information technology and the dividends that technology gives to society. I'm talking about Dr. Bitange Ndemo. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
And there's so much to talk about, even as we were saying before the break, so much that has happened in your career and last year's career. But let's start from the point where you're a clerical officer.
Yes.
In a company that has a lot of heat right now.
A
lot of heat is facing Kenya Power.
Yeah.
At that particular time,
yes,
was a plan to go up the ranks? Because usually when you become a civil servant, people become, you relax, government is good, there's not too much going on there at that particular time. It's a state-run agency. So you just work your way up the ladder. But for you,
no,
you are a different mindset.
Usually it used to be a stopgap after high school. I found myself at Kenya Power working as a clerical officer. And I was simply getting to pay fees for my siblings before I proceeded on to college.
Right.
Yes.
So for you, it was just a place where you can get some money to help the rest.
Help my mom because she brought us up. I lost my dad when I was very young. And that's what happened. Yes.
So at that particular time, what was the plan for Bitange? They go to school?
Oh, no.
And then for
you?
My
plan started much earlier. In high school, of course, we used to write letters to ourselves. You had to look like you are loved by girlfriends, so you would write to Ndemo and read look like tough. But if you see those letters that I used to write to myself, post them to myself, I used to write Bitange Ndemo, PhD. So at least it was hanging in my head. I didn't know how to get it, but eventually I did get it. And these are some of the dreams that you have, but you don't quite know how to get it, but I eventually got that.
And for you, that was a dream you had ever since, that you wanted to get your doctorate of philosophy, and that's something you wanted to do.
Just funny things you wrote on the news, but then it actually gives you direction. Yes. And
at least you got the chance to do that.
Yes.
You went abroad.
Yes.
Got a chance to study. Yeah. What made you want to come back to Kenya? For most people, they say, we'll just be there for 5 years.
No.
20 years down the line, they still haven't yet relocated back home.
Home is good. Although initially I did regret when I came back. I thought I'll get a job instantly because I was doing a very good job as a systems analyst. Those were very new jobs. And we had done something called management information systems. And I thought if I landed home, I'll get a job.
You'll be snapped into the market.
I couldn't get a job. I could not get a job. So I joined a niece who was exporting vegetables abroad to help us sell vegetables. And it was indeed good. But society didn't like it. My mom, whom I respected so much, when I told her that I was selling vegetables in Nairobi, it sounds good in English, but very bad. Very bad. When you translate it, that I'm selling in Boga. This guy may never have gone to school. So then I said, well, since she didn't feel good, I could find something. That's how I found a job at the university. Very poorly paying. I think the salary was so little. It was not even a quarter of what I used to get in selling vegetables. Yeah, but then once you get to university, you're in a trap. You've got to finish your doctoral studies. You don't just stay there as a tutorial fellow. Yeah.
And at that particular point where you're now at the university, and you're realizing, okay, yes, I didn't want to give mom a lot of pressure, but I was making much better money. I could even support her better. What made you not go back?
Well, by then I had, you hustle. You are doing consultancy work. You are doing this, and you're beginning to sort of stabilize. I couldn't get back to my job. I was earning like $5,000 a month. I've never earned that even today. When I was in the US, so you land here, you are told you are earning 7,000 shillings a month. as a tutorial fellow at the university.
7,000 shillings?
Yes, yes.
From $5,000, that is,
yes,
wow.
Yes. That is like a real sacrifice.
Very.
But then you begin to fit in. When you make many mistakes, you know. All the savings I had, I goofed when I built something in the rural area. I should have actually built something in Nairobi because that is where I lived, and it would have eased my problems of rent and other things. But those are stupid mistakes which young people watching here can learn that you plan. That planning wasn't there for me at that time.
And even as all of this happened, because I'm trying to think of just the terms of lifestyle that you had to change from that particular amount of money to this. It's quite an adjustment.
It's an adjustment. It's huge. It's a huge adjustment. Even buying a car, I had imported a vehicle from Japan, and I went through hell to clear it
from the port.
At the port, you think there is corruption now. There was super corruption at that time. A lot of systems had not been automated, so you would be told, okay, take this stamp here and take it there and come back here. So you couldn't clear the car by yourself. So eventually I got it, and of course too many problems at the time. But you get used to. You sort of gel into the society.
And as all of this was happening, had family come together at the time? Were there children in the picture?
I came back. While I was studying to do the senior systems job, I came home to look for a wife. I had only 1 week, so I had to find one.
In 1 week?
Yes.
Had you shortlisted what you're looking for? Were there candidates?
I found one. 3 days I had proposed. I said, I'm in a hurry, so I have to finish with this.
Dr. Ari, please, let's pause on that thought. So when you came to Kenya for that week, you were coming to look for a wife. You knew you had to get this done.
I had to get a wife, yes.
Were there possible candidates before you landed?
No, I didn't know anybody.
So you came, met somebody, and in 3 days
I went to see my brother, who was a lecturer at the medical school.
Right.
And I saw somebody there. I said, this is good.
And you went and told her this is the plan?
I told her that I liked her and I wanted to marry her. But you had to say all that because you don't have time. If she says no, then you proceed to another one.
This is so interesting. So once you did this,
yes.
Were you going to go back with her?
If she wanted to, but she couldn't travel with me.
So you told her, I'm going to marry you?
She joined me later.
But let me go back?
I went back, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite the interesting proposal.
Yeah.
Some people take years before they do that.
You've got to take risk in many things. and I've succeeded in a number of issues that I take risk. Yeah.
Let's talk about another issue that was quite a risk, and you still decided to take it. Being appointed as PS.
Yes.
That was quite the undertaking.
I didn't know anything about it in government at all. I never worked for government. So it was a very interesting thing. But by then, while I was joining government, I had so much, I'd been teaching so much.
Right.
So I knew how to get into government. It's very difficult for many people when they join government because there's a culture, there's a civil service culture, which you must gel into. But my philosophy is that any new thing, when you meet new people, there's a simple theory that I use. I call this Lewin's theory of change, that you must allow people to get into you. You loosen up, and once they get to understand you, then you begin to make your changes to an extent where you agree to live with one another, and then you tighten there. And I've used it. Even now I'm using it on you.
Right here.
To allow you to understand me.
So the theory is in play.
The theory is in play. Otherwise, we wouldn't talk. If I came here and they said you are not dressed well, we would start quarreling.
Exactly.
So first is you allow yourself to be accessed by the other side.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And something interesting during that time, but isn't quite unique, because we're still talking about it even now.
Yeah.
These amorphous one, cartels.
Yeah.
Talking about cartels in tendering at NYS,
those
in
ones.
sugar, KPBC. But when you were there, there was a lot of debate during the laying of the undersea cable, and
Yeah.
a lot of talk about cartels fighting what you wanted to do.
You have to know how to live with cartels. I was very lucky. Most people didn't understand what the undersea cable was. I think one politician kept asking me later on, how come you didn't tell us this thing had money? Which means that they didn't quite understand. It's also good to be in an area where they don't quite understand what is happening until it happens. But also you still get, there is also one thing I must be very honest about. These cartels are very powerful, that sometimes they can make you look like the victim. So a lot of the people who end up in court are probably there because maybe the cartels worked their ways into that, because some have a lot of resources. They can get media, they can get the judiciary and other things. So that is the unfortunate thing, and as the president embarks on fighting this, I think he must be aware that this is a very powerful network. Yeah.
And when you think about it, because you've worked both in government and private sector, is there a way to uproot the country of this network of people?
Of course,
whose tentacles are everywhere?
slowly you can. I remember when we did automation of the banking hall in the Lands Ministry. Lands Ministry had been very problematic with respect to corruption. And revenue shot up actually from 800 million to 9 billion in a very short period. But we couldn't finish. We were told, stop this, we will destroy you. When we wanted to liberalize the industry, the ICT sector, the telecoms, we were told we will destroy you. So sometimes you have to make your decision and decide that you are doing something. Yeah. And
even as all of this was going on, the automation taking place, do you feel like probably that's the solution as we move forward, more automation,
every country,
more transparency?
Every country that has succeeded, technology has had something to do with it. Even here, I see people condemning IFMIS. Without IFMIS, we would never have known. And that's what used to happen. You would never have known. You at least know, then you begin to find ways of correcting the things. And I think technology will make a lot more inroads into this, especially when we fully establish the identities. This is what India did when they did the biometrics for the whole country. And they have been using it to fight corruption, and they have been very successful at that. Yeah. And
as India moves in leaps and strides in that direction,
yes.
Let's talk about the fact there was something you're really passionate about,
yeah.
Konza City.
Yes.
You know, it was almost a brainchild that you guys came up with, and it was the idea of having this Silicon Savannah.
Yeah.
Let's take what we have seen that works in the United States and make this a tech hub.
Yes.
Are we closer to that?
We are getting very close. I really wanted everybody to understand the whole idea. But usually it's very difficult to explain to the public the whole idea because they are not, they don't have the same interest. You know, the people who want to destroy would say is useless and whatever. What happens is, the reason why you have like Silicon Valley, like the Carolina Triangle and other places and several countries, Shenzhen in China, and India is doing those parks all over the place, is that when you have several companies in one place, when they go for lunch, ideas cross-pollinate, and you begin to improve on those things. Look at what Ethiopia has done, Hawassa. Oh, we are doing this, this is what we've been doing. It sort of gives you like a challenge that we need to do better.
Right.
You get to know which ideas they are using. That is the reason why you have a park. And the fact that you can be able to ask government to give concessions. If you saw my article yesterday, which the online one, I tried to explain. People ask, what is wrong with us that we are not doing things? You know, I started with a meeting we had in Abidjan last week, and in this meeting, they are singing the mantra of the president of African Development Bank, but nobody knows that in the member countries, this is where people must know so that they can ask for the resources. So sometimes we have a communication system that is not working.
Right.
And I was telling them, I wish that people can know so that we can be in sync. But it's very difficult for an ordinary person, an SME, to know that there is such a resource and go for it. So they send the money to a dispersing bank, and the bank takes the money and buys treasury bills. So the rich gets richer, the poorer are still way at the bottom. So we need to find a way. If we were together, you would hear there is money that has been given.
Indeed.
And then everybody would fight for those resources. And you begin to scale. There is nothing wrong with us. What is wrong with us is that we don't make it easier for people to come together and work together. Yes.
And let's talk about that transition also from, you know, you've come with all of these ideas, you've done the undersea cable, Konza City, your PS, and I imagine as permanent secretary at the time, your phone is always ringing. People want Bitange, people need these things.
Exactly.
What happens once you've moved past the office and you're no longer in office?
You're like dead.
The phone stops ringing.
Nobody calls you. And people are very crude. It's just that I am honest. I talk about it. That is a very close friends who used to hang around you. They will just disappear. But it didn't bother me myself because I spent quite a bit of time writing, either writing for local newspapers, international newspapers, or just academic papers. So when you are busy like that, it doesn't really bother you. But when you come out and say, oops, I've not received a call for the entire day.
Something that was unheard of.
Which was
before.
Unheard of, yes. Yes.
And for everyone, because at the end of the day, you're human, I'm sure during your tenure, there's some people who you feel is a close colleague, is a network I can use later on, and they're not picking your calls, they're not calling you. Here
we don't, I call it a coalition of interests, where if there is nothing I gain from you, there is nothing. There isn't, like in the old times, friends. You are just friends. For better or worse, you know, that I will be with you. It's very difficult to do it in the modern world. At the village, you can have genuine friends because you almost share everything. But in the cities, our lives have changed so drastically.
It's a coalition of interests.
Yeah.
And let's talk about drastic change also and move on with that. Because if there's one thing you're an evangelist of, it's change, it's technology, and how we can harness that to move forward. I
don't need a job to evangelize emerging technologies. Because I know I have children that I want them to have a better life in the days to come. And it is my responsibility to see that I do whatever I can that we begin to use these technologies. There is a major change that is coming, mega change in terms of technology. We used to have internet when it came, then we had mobility, the mobile. Now there is this thing called blockchain. It's going to have a disruptive path like internet did, like mobility did. Now it is here. We don't have to wait and see the Americans hog everything. You know, they hog the internet. That's how you have Yahoo's, Google's, all these big companies. Mobility, we were still asleep. They have the Facebook, the Twitters, all the social media went there. This other one, our eyes are sort of open. Can we exploit this so that we begin to see multi-billionaires coming out of Africa for once?
Okay.
And that's why I say I should even go on the street to preach about this.
And when you talk about blockchain, one thing that very many people talk about is this aspect of cryptocurrency.
No, blockchain is the technology that
behind the platform.
So you can actually remove cryptocurrency and say, what else can it do for us? Yeah, it can help us streamline supply chains and help the poor. You know, I did an article on that, how IBM and Twigger Foods have streamlined the supply chain of bananas and other things, and they are creating value to the farmer. This is what we ought to be doing if we want to make this country a better country.
Okay. But I wanted to touch on the cryptocurrency as far as blockchain is concerned, because there's been a lot of talk. It's a boom, it's a bust, it's a scam with all these Bitcoins and Ethereums and all of these currencies going on. Are they here to stay? For the layman who's trying to come to grasp with every single day there's a new cryptocurrency in the market, are they here to stay? Is this the new quail egg? You know, because everyone bought the quail eggs.
We said the same thing about mobility. You know, this thing can even record you in your house. Did people fear? Did people stop using it? I think there is what you call responsible investment.
Right.
Just like in the stock market, you have to know where you put your resources. If you just go, you are buying this and that without knowing, you burn your fingers. I think it's good to spend time, know precisely what this thing is. Is there value behind it? You know, like one of the crypto, Ethereum, does well with smart contracts. There is value behind it. Ruble, you find it does work with banks. There is value behind it. If I come up with the Ndemo coin and I'm only selling bananas, you should actually, you know, this bagger is just collecting money from the citizens.
True.
Yeah. True. I have to explain to you and tell you this is where I derive my value from and moving forward.
Which is the backing for the currency.
Yes.
Okay. Even as we wind up, because we have a minute left on the show, for people who are watching and are trying to come to grips with this new reality that you're talking about, blockchain and all these technologies, what's the advice you'd give moving forward? Because that's where we are going. Well,
be curious and ask yourself, what can I exploit? You know, there are these emerging opportunities. Like I said, in agriculture, you see, the president has given us direction with food security. You know, the question is, how can I use this technology to ensure food security? You know, you can develop a track and trace system. You track and trace food from source to the retailers. You know, that's a major problem. There are people who don't want to buy vegetables from Dandora. They need organic vegetables. How do you create track and trace system? That we can get technologies to help you to do that. And you exploit that space. Now, if we all sit, some guy from Silicon Valley would come and do that track and trace for us. We pay all the money to them. And we are seated with our vegetables from our farms. He's the one to tell us these are good, these are not bad, and stuff like that. So those are things that I tell people. That there is so much. Last night, I was talking to a scientist how they are, who wanted to understand how really can we use this blockchain. They are doing science on selection of those DNAs that can kill cancer cells. So it is reached that level. And it's something I had written, so she had to call me from Netherlands to discuss how could you exactly do the selection. That's why I said be curious and ask, how do I apply it? How do you apply blockchain in broadcast, for example, here.
So that's the question we need to ask.
Nobody has asked, but you get a solution from Silicon Valley and use it here. So those are things that we must begin to look at.
Okay, Daktari.
Thank
We'll leave it
you.
at that. Thank you so much. No,
Thanks.
don't leave